All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling a huge topic that's changing the game for finance, especially right here in Australia. We're talking about artificial intelligence and how it's basically becoming an essential co-pilot for anyone trying to navigate the wild world of crypto.
And that's the question, isn't it? The crypto market is famously, maybe infamously, volatile and unpredictable. It could be super intimidating. So the idea that a machine, an algorithm, could somehow bring a little order to all that chaos, well, it's pretty tempting. But can it really work? Let's dig in.
So before we can really get why AI is such a big deal here, we have to appreciate just how massive the challenge is. For any person, just a regular investor, the crypto market throws up these unique problems that make it feel less like investing and more like trying to sail a tiny boat through a hurricane. First thing you have to wrap your head around is this. Unlike the stock market, crypto never closes. There's no opening bell, no closing bell. It is a round-the-clock global machine. And that creates this huge pressure because the price could make a massive move while you're asleep or at dinner or just, not looking at your phone.
And then there's the information. Oh man, you're not just watching one or two numbers. You're trying to keep up with news from all over the world, complex technical charts, and this constant, non-stop fire hose of opinions and chatter from places like X and Reddit. It is a total flood, and it's basically impossible for one human brain to process it all.
So, what happens when you combine that 24/7 pressure with that insane information overload? You get emotional decisions. It's human nature, right? The volatility triggers our most basic instincts. You get that fear of missing out, FOMO, when prices are shooting up, and then you get panic selling when they start to crash. These feelings, fear and greed, they can be your absolute worst enemies as an investor.
Okay, so you've got this market that never sleeps, and a human who gets tired and emotional. This is exactly where the AI co-pilot comes into the picture. But it is so important to understand this. AI isn't a magic crystal ball. It's not going to tell you the future. Think of it less like an autopilot that you just switch on and forget about, and more like a seriously advanced co-pilot sitting next to you, helping you navigate that storm.
So, what is this thing really? In the crypto world, AI is basically a tool. It's a tool that's built to do things a human just can't, at least not at scale. It can sift through those mountains of data we talked about, spot patterns, automatically execute trades based on those patterns, and, this is key, help manage your risk, all without a shred of human emotion. Okay, let's get into the specifics. How exactly does this AI co-pilot give you an edge? It really comes down to what we can think of as 4 key powers, and each one directly tackles one of the big challenges of the crypto market.
And what you'll see is that these 4 powers all build on each other. It all kicks off with analyzing the market. That analysis then makes automated trading possible. A really cool part of that analysis is figuring out public sentiment, and then, wrapped around this whole process, is a layer of automated risk management. Let's break down how that actually works.
It all starts with the data. And just look at the difference here. It's kind of mind-blowing. In 1 hour, a really sharp human analyst might get through, 100 different data points? An AI algorithm can process over 1 million. It's scanning everything, market data, news articles, social media chatter, and finding tiny patterns that would be literally invisible to us. This is the foundation for everything else it does. So, once the AI has chewed through all that data and spotted a potential pattern, the next step is to act on it. And this table just lays it out perfectly. It's not just that the AI bot is always on, or that it makes a trade in milliseconds when it takes us seconds or minutes. The absolute game changer is that its decisions are 100% data-driven. It takes that emotional bias, that fear and greed, completely out of the equation. Now, here's a really cool part. One of the most powerful types of data the AI can analyze is human emotion itself. This is what we call sentiment analysis. The AI is basically taking on that information overload problem for you. It's like a giant listening tool, scanning social media and news sites to get a read on the public mood. Is everyone excited? Are they scared? A big shift in that sentiment can be a really powerful clue about where the market might be heading next. Okay, so you have the market analysis, the automated trading, and the sentiment analysis all working together. But what happens if the market suddenly turns against your position? This is where that 4th power comes in, and you could argue it's the most important one, AI as your risk manager. It's like a defensive shield, watching over everything, suggesting ways to diversify, and sometimes even automatically adjusting your positions in real time to help protect your capital.
So that's the big global picture of how this stuff works. But let's bring it back home. How is this technology actually playing out for investors right here in Australia? Let's take a look. For Australian investors, the scene looks pretty promising, but it definitely has its own local flavor. First off, we've got great tech infrastructure, so these powerful tools have a solid foundation to run on. We also tend to have a pretty forward-thinking attitude about fintech, which helps. But, and this is a really big but, the regulatory landscape is still evolving. The rules of the game are still being written, and that means you can't just set the AI and forget it. You still have to be an engaged investor who's paying attention to what's happening locally.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. After seeing all the incredible things AI can do, it's easy to start thinking, well, what's left for the human to do? You might think the investor is becoming obsolete, but that's absolutely not the case. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The best approach isn't human versus machine, it's human plus machine. It's a partnership. The AI brings the raw power, the incredible speed, the massive data processing, the emotionless execution. But the human, you bring the wisdom, the long-term strategy, the understanding of your own goals, and that crucial element of judgment.
So we end up with this final question to think about. If the AI is down in the weeds, crunching the numbers and executing the trades, what's your new job? Well, your role evolves. It shifts. You're no longer the person digging through mountains of data. You become the strategist. You're the one who sets the goals, who defines the risk you're willing to take, and who ultimately chooses the right tools for the job. You're not just trying to survive the storm anymore, you're the captain charting the course. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.